Cool. Okay, well, shall we call to order? Okay, great. So we'll call to order and start the recording. Great. Um, so let's see. Public comment period. Does anyone have a public comment? We'll just wait. Why don't we just, if it's all right with everyone, jump right to the Bristol Trail Network and talk to Porter Knight, who's here to visit with us. If that's okay with everyone. Sounds good. So we'll move to the old business item B about the Bristol Trail Network and hear about what's happening with the Bristol Trail Network. And then Porter, we were also hoping, we've been working on, you can see down there, Memorial Park Management Plan. Kristen has sent out a version that is really nice. I don't know if you were copied on that.
I just read it.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah, it's looking really good. I don't know if we had anything at the when we started this project. So we're really happy with the progress we've made on that. And there's very few things we actually need to discuss on that at this point. So it feels really good. And we just want to see what you think about some items and what's happening and the work you've done over there. Especially when we have so many new members. Alex and Zaley weren't able to come out the day that we all met up. Helen was there, but I don't know what pieces she heard in the conversation. It was really informal. And then and Nancy, this is, I think, your first official meeting or second. So she would love to hear what's at Memorial Park as well. I don't know where it is even, Nancy. Perfect. So yeah, so if we can just have a conversation about Memorial, that'd be great as well.
Sure. Well, Memorial Park is, of course, Bristol's best kept secret. It's an absolute gem of a park, 19 acres right along the Baldwin Creek. Gorgeous, forestry, and the waterfall there is tremendous. And of course, it's totally closed. So that's a massive bummer. And I wish I had something for you. I pretty much got nothing. I have had Alan Huizinga working on an engineering plan for us there. Originally, I had said to him, look, we've had to close these stairs and the bridge is going to need to be replaced sometime soon. The town of Middlebury, or the State Agency of Transportation, was able to snag us this bridge that was in Middlebury when they were doing their rail overpass. So we have that ADA bridge sitting at a gravel pit. I don't know whose, somebody's in town, probably Peakers. And so I said to Alan, I've got this bridge and this problem, can you make them work? And I got a grant for $6,000 from a private foundation based out of Middlebury. And he looked at it and he said, pretty much no, I can't use that bridge to get across this span of the Baldwin Creek anywhere from upstream of where the bridge is to below. He said, do you want me to just stop and not use all the engineering money, or do you want me to do more? And I said, I want ADA accessibility on parks. I want it on like 5 parks, actually. This is a really big vision that I have. I want to, do more with that. But since we have this money and this bridge, can you do anything for me at Memorial Park? And so he said, what I think I can do is, he said, if we regraded the parking lot and used the bridge, we could get fully accessible access to that picnic area that's just below the parking area. And he said, and then with improvements, you could have the parking area would be much more functional and more attractive. You could even have some picnicking at the parking area. And then there would be this bridge that would get you down to the lower area. So you could have a picnic area that was fully accessible with a picnic table that's designed for somebody with a wheelchair to be able to sit with other family members. And it's on the Baldwin Creek and it's beautiful. It doesn't get us across the creek. It doesn't get us to view the falls, but it would make that park more functional for more people. So I said, go ahead and do that design for me. And what I want is a design that gets me to a construction estimate. And then I can have that one like as a quiver, or as a bow, an arrow in my quiver, as I try to make all of these other parks I want to get engineered to have accessibility, and then go for a big grant to do it all in one fell swoop and make Bristol a recreation destination for accessible outdoors fun. Which isn't really even part of the Bristol Trail Network, but never mind. So that's something that I'm working on. And I just called him last week And they've had some staffing challenges, as many people have. And he said, I'm sorry, I really haven't looked at this at all since Thanksgiving. And he said he had another staff member who was working on it then. And he said, I will talk to him this week and get back to you, but not before Thursday night's meeting, because I knew this meeting was coming up. So we haven't used our whole $6,000 in engineering with them yet. That's as far as we're getting. And that, the other thing he said he was going to do was he was going to follow up with, you probably remember, and it's referenced in the management update, that we paid Timber and Stone to do a plan to redo the access from the parking lot to the bridge. And so he was going to call them and see if they would collaborate with him, paid or otherwise, just to help him brainstorm about how they might be able to modify some of their ideas. Because if we redo the parking area and get accessible access to a picnic area below, then we'll still be above the falls, but then we could tie in from that bridge down, using some of Timber and Stone's ideas. So he was thinking maybe there might be a way to combine those. That's pretty much all I've got at Memorial Park, except that I did get a grant. So I have 2 weeks of Vermont Youth Conservation Corps next week, or next summer.
Okay.
Yeah, not next week, next summer. And I could conceivably use them somewhere besides the river bend. I could also just use them on the river bend. We need stairs there and stairs there and stairs there, and I'm never going to build stone stairs with anybody besides them. So I know, and they are variable. Like this year's crew actually just was lousy, and they started to do some stairs and they were crybabies and they quit. And that was it. I mean, seriously, like that's what their boss told me. Like they just, so they're youth crews, and sometimes they gel and sometimes they don't. And they had some crew dynamic issues. And so they put one step in on this section that needed an entire staircase. And then the director was like, you know what? Let's regroup everybody. And she just picked them all up and she moved them to another section of trail. They had success working on another project to shore up a section of the Riverbend Trail, not with stairs, but in a different manner, which was fine. Anyway, I just got the bill from them literally today. Very apologetically, they charged me half what they would have otherwise charged because they knew it sucked. But anyway, I got money in the bank for 2 weeks for them next year. And I might put them on the Riverbend, but I had also drafted having them work for a week at Memorial to build us a 1 mile loop on the other side of the falls, but to go out basically the half-mile length of the property along the Baldwin Creek and back. And I walked that with Meredith last year. We didn't flag it, but we mapped it. So maybe, but I don't know. That's what I got at Memorial Park. It's not that much, but just.
Yeah. Does anyone have questions about Memorial Park, maybe that doesn't know the site that well, that Alex could answer, or Chris and I from experience at BCC, or Porter, since we've got her here?
I'll just say
yeah,
one thing, Kristen. So I just read over the report before we came on, and it's looking great. There was one place where you had a question about cell service. There is no cell service there at all.
Yeah,
I'll ask a question.
I've never gotten a bar there. Yeah.
I like to ask a question. So my understanding is that the bridge cross, I don't know, extension piece that you have wasn't quite going to work the way that Alan looked at it. What was the specifics? Was it too short? Was it somehow not able to be too short?
Mm-hmm.
By how much?
I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
You said that he had explored options of going upstream from where the bridge is, and it was still too short, right? So you couldn't like get in where the kind of downpour, where the fire pit is now. That's still
Right.
short there.
Okay, so what about like the horizon? Like, what about, so you were thinking you want to do the APA accessible idea, and then applying for grants, like for one thing, was that about Christopher Reeve? You were thinking maybe doing a big
Yes.
thing, is that right?
Yeah, my thought was them, and there are other funding sources as well that might be sources for, really deep pockets. So if we had like a $500,000 effort to make, 5 different destinations be accessible, and doing it with some private and some grant money. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking sort of like a 5-year vision on this. I have 2 people in the community who are very interested in accessible recreation in the community. So we've been talking a little bit, and then I'm meeting with, I think it's Fred Kenny with Addison County. Is it not regional development or what? I gotta look up his, who does anybody know where he works? I'll find it. Anyway, I'm meeting with him next week to talk about state and federal grants for accessible recreation development.
Well, and I like that we're getting on track with, or hopefully getting on track with Eagle Park too, because then that can be a suggestion that our town does value this kind of thing. Not only, it's kind of ideal, anytime you apply for a grant, right? To say, not only do we want to do this, we are doing this, right? And then there's a proof of concept there that we support that kind of thing, which is nice.
Yeah, and Addison County Economic Development Corporation in Middlebury. And regional planning also knows that this is a thing I'm pushing.
Cool. Okay. Any other updates on the Bristol Trail Network or other things about parks you'd like to talk about?
I don't have a lot of other trail stuff. I can't remember what I last updated you with. So we do have the trail is almost complete going from the north edge of our current terminus at the old dump trail. The trail going from there to Plank Road is almost complete. We're waiting for the landowners to get a survey done so that that parcel is very narrow as it comes up on Plank Road. So they just want to make sure that they're, well within that when we build trail. Continuing conversations with landowners going north from Plank, hoping to get over that cell tower hill and be out at North Street by VBT by spring or summer. But the people there who are interested are still interested, and the people there who haven't been able to sit down and talk with me still haven't been able to sit down and talk with me. So I haven't made a lot of progress there. Starting to have conversations with landowners on our eastern border, going north from Mountain Street towards the pond, where there's existing trail that is commonly historically used, but talking to people about making that possibly a formal, marked, maintained, and promoted part of the Bristol Trail Network.
Like Heath Road, you mean?
Yes, in fact, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of people that live on Heath if you want to talk sometime.
Okay, great. So let's see, what else in the Bristol Trail Network? We're really pushing our cute t-shirts. If you don't have one, you want to get one. And then we have our canvas bags now that we have our logo on too, as part of the Bristol Welcome Committee. And then I guess I can tell you guys, because it's going to be in the paper next week, super exciting, big news, that 17 local trail fans have come together to create an endowment fund at the Vermont Community Foundation. And we have $84,000 in gifts and pledges towards that fund, which we hope to have at 100,000. And so when the press release hits the paper next week, we'll be telling the world about that and inviting everybody else to pitch in and be a part of that, so that we're creating a legacy resource for the Bristol Trail Network, so that, I'll keep writing grants for the trail for the next 10 or 12 years, however long I'm on the Bristol Rec Club board. But when I leave the Bristol Rec Club board, I want to make sure that future boards have resources at their disposal to maintain, to improve, to expand, and protect the trail. And that is explicitly what this endowment fund is set up to do. And so people pitched in, gifts, 15,000, 10,000, 5,000, 2,000 to create that endowment. So pretty exciting, cool stuff.
And then
Very
what is
cool.
what's the vision for what that will be used with, or how that's going to be used? Is that like you want to
So
use the
it's,
interest over?
yep, it's an endowment fund, so the principal will not be spent. And so it will sit there at the community foundation and earn interest. And when I leave the rec club board and stop writing grants for the trail, then the interest will be available to future rec club boards to use explicitly for the trail. It says to maintain, improve, expand, and protect the Bristol Trail Network, trails within Bristol, and trails connecting Bristol to other communities in that order of priority.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so hopefully, you know, if I am able to continue doing this for another 10 or 12 years, if we get $100,000 there, it could be 200,000 in 12 years. The Community Foundation Socially Responsible Pool has been getting, you know, over the last 10 years, 8.6%. So yeah.
That's amazing. Like, congratulations. That's insane.
I know, it's very exciting.
Well, I'm
Oh.
like having a hard time processing it. That's so cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice job, Porter.
Yeah,
Thanks.
great work for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, any other news is going to be pretty boring after that. We might as well just adjourn, you know?
Hey, thanks for letting me go
Um,
first.
Yeah, right? Like now it's going to be like, the website is updated. Like,
Good stuff.
wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
But okay, well, anything else that's happening with any parks or anything? Maybe we should should we move and talk about parks while you're still on, Porter? Would that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that would be Alex, but I'm happy to stay in here. I will note that the guy who was pooping at Memorial Park now poops on the Coffin Factory Trail.
No.
Yeah, well, I don't know, it's the same guy. We didn't do a DNA test on his poop, but Meredith and I are pretty bummed about it. And my poor intern last fall was really horrified when he came back and he told me about it. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. And he looks at me, I'm like, you didn't deal with it, did you? And he's like, was I supposed to? And I was like, well, somebody's gonna have to pick it up. I mean, I'll go do it. And he's just like, he was just like stricken, horrified. He just looked at me and he's like, you're gonna pick it up? And I'm like, well, yeah, like, yeah. Anyway, I mean, I got dog poop bags, whatever. I didn't do it with my bare hands, but I was like, yeah, what do you think? Yeah, you have to pick it up. Come on, dude. Anyway, he's like, that wasn't in the job description. I'm like, don't be a sissy. Anyway.
Oh my God. Well, I'm sorry to hear the Coffin Factory Trail's having that problem. Was there anything that we could do about it at all?
Oh, well, so Meredith has a game camera and we were really hoping to get his buns hanging out on that, but I haven't set it up yet. But I also just got a grant for this has nothing to do with poop actually, but we're segueing a little bit. So I got a grant to buy trail counters. So I have
Wonderful.
three trail counters. I just ordered them this week. And so I'll install those. So that will help me quantify use on the trail, which is really important for other grant applications and stuff. So I'll have those. But yeah, Meredith and I are conspiring to put the game camera up, but it was cold and it was Christmas and I haven't done it yet. And I honestly, I have not walked there since Christmas. So I hope it's not going to be just a giant pile because I have not looked. I don't know. Alex, have you been down there? Yeah, I haven't been there since Christmas. So I don't know.
On the trail?
What's that?
Is it on the trail?
Yeah, it's
Like not even to the side?
well, no, it's a little to the side. The footprints are on the trail. The poop is off the trail.
Ah, so
I
like
mean-
right there.
Yeah, closer than my dog poops. But
Oh.
so like whoever it is, and I don't know for sure it's the same person, but whoever it is going, they go in and they take the turn to the right. And then when it goes down into what used to be the sluice of water, it's right there. Have you seen it, Helen? Yeah. Anyway, so I've picked it up 4 times there. And like I said, I haven't been since Christmas, so I have no idea. It was 4 times from right before Thanksgiving until right before Christmas.
I mean,
I don't
couldn't
know.
this person like go in Holly Hall? Like there's bathrooms, right?
You
Or
know,
like
I don't know. I mean, if you
Walgreens,
read the literature on, homeless or the barely housed, it's a problem. I mean, and Meredith and I have talked about this, like Bristol should have public restrooms. We need to have public restrooms that are safe and accessible. And, it's an issue. It's not it's happened more than once. It's not somebody who just like pulled over and had a bathroom emergency. There was toilet paper
Right.
involved. So the person was planning. But, I mean, we don't know. I mean, from a compassion standpoint, and if the person is not fully housed, then they may not even feel comfortable even going into a restaurant or a gas station, or they may be
Well, that's what I was saying
scorned.
with Holly Hall. I just
Yeah, but I
assumed that
mean,
would count as a public bathroom. No.
I know, but they've probably been scorned or spurned, or
Yeah.
they might smell or not be, and it's just
Yeah.
it's hard. It's a hard thing.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing. Like I don't want them pooping on my trail, but I'm not. I know I understand them. They may feel like they don't have a lot of options.
Sure. Ooh.
Not to belabor the point, but and not to put a sign up, but it can be quite a bit off the trail. It probably wouldn't be as much of an issue, except for it's very close, if not practically on the trail. That's just bad.
Hmm.
But anyway,
Do we have more importantly though, I suppose, do we have those kids doing that? What was that Vermont thing where they go around and they have like a winter passport and they have different parks around the county? Or
They're not
used to-
doing that. Yeah, I don't think they're doing that this year. They didn't contact me
Okay.
this year.
Yeah, they've contacted me in the past about the coffin show, but they had it this year and I didn't know. Okay. That's good. At least we'll have like a whole bunch of kids going in there. God. Okay, well, that blows. Way to follow up your like big rant with this truth bomb,
It's all good. Crazy life.
Okay, so that's Coffin Trail. Anything about other parks that we need to talk about or any updates? I know it's winter, so it's gonna be slow.
Yeah, I can give just a quick update. For Sycamore Park, the last time I visited was there was some damage to one section of the pollinator garden fence. That looks like like the little, not the chicken wire one, but the one next to it. Kind of like green fencing. It looks just like some sort of animal or something, a dog maybe, somebody's dog was kind of trying to get in there. If you allow me to share the picture, I can share the photo that I've taken of that.
I don't know what the permissions are. I'm sorry.
Okay, let me see. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. It's no big deal.
No, I'm happy to. There you go. I think that'll work.
Let me try.
Sorry, it's the town's account. I don't know how they set it up. So I think that'll work now.
Okay. And hold on. Sorry. Okay, let's try this. Okay. So this is the section, it was all snowy, so I couldn't really tell if something had gotten in there and started going after stuff or not. But that's one section that will probably need to be replaced come springtime. And then there is another picture just of the same. Let's see if that's it. No. Okay. Here we go. So the other one, the first chicken wire fence just needs to be reinforced. You can tell the stakes are all kind of leaning. So that would just be something that I plan to add to that like kind of work project list for Sycamore Park volunteer BCC workday. And that would be pretty straightforward. So, the other option to just put it out there would be if anybody has a bunch of those like green fence post things that you can just hammer right in that have like the little hooks on them, those would work better than the plastic ones that are currently there. I don't think we need to go out and buy them, but that would be an improvement. Just
how many do you think you need, Alex?
I would probably say, I'm counting right now, 3, 4, probably 15 to 20. would cover that first pollinator garden section. I believe the other one is a little bit better off. More, yeah. That's kind of what we're looking for. That style. You can just sledgehammer it in once the springtime rolls around.
One thing to consider, Alex, is that putting them on the corners where there's more tension and an angle versus in the straight line. The metal ones, if you don't have as many, those are the places to put those in the straight line. The plastic ones probably will, manage well enough.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds good.
One of the concerns I would have is that, if we wait until spring to fix this, late winter, early spring is going to be when the animals are getting in there and eating the new shoots. So I know that one of the things Jenny was really worried about is she wanted this fence up to prevent, things from eating the little baby plants. So if we're going to do some type of repair, the sooner we can do it, the better, just to keep things out of there in the winter when they're desperately looking for something to eat, and the early spring when it's starting to be baby shoots.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, I have, I'm planning on going there tomorrow, actually, tomorrow morning, as part of the walkthrough, so I can grab some stuff just to patch this little hole, and that'll hopefully hold for a few months or so, and obviously keep an eye on it. It's one of the first things I check when I go through that park. So yeah, hopefully that'll hold up, and if there's any tracks or anything, I'll try to check it out. But like you can see in this picture, there's really no evidence, so it's kind of a bit of a bummer, but yeah. Okay, other Sycamore.
Well, I'm sorry, Alex, before you say anything, sorry. We do have a $300 operating budget. It is January. We need to spend that money by June 30th, 31st, whatever it is, last day in June. So, something to think about, if we spent a lot of that money on the pollinator garden last year, if that's a project that we'd be interested in supporting, we can think about that, if that'd be a small expenditure. We do have to pay for our dues for the conservation commissions, but we have a few, $100 or $200 available to think about these sorts of things. I know if we don't spend that money, they're not going to give us the money. So it's just something to think about, that could be a possibility going forward for small things like this. If anyone has anything they need for a project they're working on.
Might be a challenge to replace any of those stakes at the moment, because with the current temperatures and what's to come the next week, that ground is pretty frozen, I suspect.
Cool. So I did have one other just update, and this picture is not current, obviously, with the snow, but when I visited in sort of mid-December, our friend who lives sort of nearby, and who has right of way through the park, has continued at least into mid-December of frequenting back and forth and either moving his stuff out or whatnot. So this is the latest picture I have, but it's just, I don't know, it's noticeable. And I know there was a meeting at some point, as far as we had discussed whether or not the Conservation Commission could purchase the adjacent property and all that. But I was just curious if we know that there's an end date to when the gentleman will, or the transaction between the person he's selling it to will, be executed. It would be great, to not have vehicles going through there as frequently as they have been currently. But I understand why it's happening. Recently he's moving out a bunch of stuff. So, all right.
I'm just looking at my notes of my meeting with that landowner, and we had no dates. I have no idea when he's planning to be out of there, and it's not even clear to me, once the land transfer happens, if the new owner won't want the same access.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and that sounds like what I was remembering. So yeah, it's just the, it's a consequence of that. But I did want to show one other photo and talk about Eagle Park next, with the sort of engraved boulder.
Sorry. Wait, Alex, while we're on Sycamore,
Sure.
I was wondering, Porter, you said you had like a vision for 5 parks and 80. What would you envision for Sycamore? Because we're not allowed to put any permanent structures there. What were you thinking for that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what is possible because of the way it floods every year, but it's one of the parks which is more attractive to people in town with some mobility limitations. And so if we could create a path which made, obviously not through the knotweed to the beach, but even taking advantage of the more park-like areas, to make it more genuinely accessible to somebody who used a walker or a wheelchair, and putting in some type of path that might be able to withstand the flooding, or be, easily remedied in the spring when it, even when it floods.
Cool, thank you. I just wondered what your.
Yep.
You spent less time thinking about this. I was wondering.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, Sycamore is definitely, if you ask people who have experienced mobility limitations, whether they've been temporary or permanent, Sycamore is top of the list for places that are easy to go.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Alex, you want to move on to, was it Eagle you said?
Yeah, I just wanted to show, I don't know if we've talked about it, the boulder being installed now at the park. So again, this photo was taken in mid-December before snow. So this is kind of like you're standing on the little gravel walking path looking back towards the parking lot. And so that's where it's located. That's what it looks like. After I took this photo, I spread out this pile of dirt and rocks so that it's not so obvious. And hopefully we'll come back nice and level in the spring. We still need to get this boulder that they had to move to gain access. We need to move that back. So that's on the list, but no, otherwise it's pretty noticeable, but not noticeable when you drive in. You can't see the engraving, so it just looks like a normal boulder, and you walk around and you see the engraving. So yeah, I just wanted to share that as well. And
that is really nice.
Yeah,
Alex,
sort of worked out really well.
yeah, that's pretty exciting. What occurs to me is, was there a decision not to have it face the parking lot?
No, I think Dave Henderson was involved in the siting of it, and Ed Germon, and their thought was the view beyond the boulder would be the river that he worked so tirelessly to protect, and then Mount Abe is in the view beyond that. So.
Oh, I see. The other thought that I had is that maybe the boulder could be possibly positioned at a slight angle, obviously slightly reclining, and that way it might be easier to read. I don't think that would be too difficult if Dave Henderson and others thought that that was a reasonable thing to consider.
yeah, I agree, Jono. That was my first thought, was that the engraving goes so low on the boulder. There's not a whole lot of clearance for, because grass is going to grow up and eventually it'll need to be weed whacked and all of that. But if there was a possibility to slightly angle it so that it was tilted a little bit more up, that would be nice. In the winter, the last lines are just going to get covered up with snow, but there's not much you can do about that. So yeah, but otherwise I think it's really nice looking, and come springtime we'll make any kind of cosmetic updates that we need to make sure it looks nice. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And yeah, so those were the main park highlights from my perspective. And not a whole lot of use this time of year, just because it's been so cold. And so yeah.
Kristen, is there an update with the engineers and all that?
Only
Okay.
that the point person from FEMA has changed. And so there's a little catch up that they're doing on FEMA's side of things, but they're presently reviewing the cost estimates for the repairs. And so I'll let this group know as soon as we have feedback from them.
Cool, thanks. Any other parks? What else? Thunder Rivers access? That's not a big one usually. Yeah.
Do we?
All right.
When
Go
we-
ahead, Krista.
I was just gonna say, when we do need to have some discussions about the management plan for Memorial Park, but I know that's a later item, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. And we can wait until then.
Unless we want to do that with Porter, if we want to just pop that to the next thing. If Porter wants to hear that. I don't know if Porter, you care or not. Okay.
Well,
Okay,
it's not so disconnected from your conversation about accessibility and so on, a lot of what goes on in the management plan. So
Yeah, I already made a note to include some mention of a future vision for more accessibility there in the plan.
Perfect. Well, we can just pop over, if everyone's done with parks updates, which I think we might be, we could pop over and officially talk about Memorial Park Management Plan, which would be item G or 6G. And then we could just like kind of blow through the other things and just do those quick at the end of the meeting, I guess, if that's what people would prefer for Porter's sake.
Sure.
Okay, great. So we'll just make it extra hard to follow the meeting if someone's watching this video, but that is fine with me because I don't know if anyone's going to. So Memorial Park Management Plan discussion and review, 6G, does that sound good? Zaley, we're good? Cool. So we'll like move on to that discussion. So Kristen sent a copy of that out. Does everyone have that or would like me to forward them a copy of that right now? Everyone has that? Sounds
Yep.
great. Okay, Kristen, then you can go to it.
Kristen, I found that when I downloaded it as a Word file, it was gibberish on my computer. I don't know if that was true I can read it when I just read it within the email.
Okay.
But can you make it a PDF file and send it again? Not now, but at some point so that
Yeah.
a permanent
I can make
record
it
of
a
it.
PDF. Yeah.
Did anyone else have that problem? I downloaded
No.
it and opened it.
Helen, I'm gonna send it to you right now, okay, as a PDF.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I've got it open
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
within Word. Just, I mean,
Okay.
within the email.
Sure, that's fine then. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Let's see, and I could also share my screen, or are people just comfortable reading it on their own screens and we'll have the conversation that way?
Whatever's easiest for you, Kristen, if you want to be like making notes or taking feedback, whatever
I
you
think,
prefer. is fine.
yeah, if you share the screen, then, for instance, I can get out of email and just be in Zoom.
I'll
That'd be
do
great.
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, can everybody see?
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so Nancy, so you are aware what's happening since we didn't even get to greet you and say yay. But anyhow, so what's happening is there's a goal of ours is to sort of update and or create management plans for the parks. And we've been getting some movement on this recently, which has been very exciting that we've been like actually doing our plan to update these. And so this one's looking really good, I think, and we've made a lot of progress on it. And we're just going over the management plan, thinking of the last few things, and then I think we'll be good and we can move on to the next plan. So this is for that Memorial Park we were talking to with Porter, and that has that beautiful waterfall that's up, sort of, what is it? Where is it? It's on 17. If you go like up the mountain, you're gonna go to Waitsfield or something. Up there.
Yeah.
No, wait.
Yeah, like going towards Starksboro, and then you turn right by like, what's that called now? Tillerman's? Is that something like that? Where Mary's used to be, you know, now I feel like a real Vermonter. When you talk about landmarks that aren't there anymore. And then you go up the mountain there, and it's on the right, up pretty steep up there. Just on the very edge of Bristol, you can see. Okay, so here's the management plan. I really, Kristen, I love these historical pieces you're putting in. You said, was that too much? But I personally, I like it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I thought it like made it much more interesting to read if you were just like a person that was perusing.
Cool, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there was a section where I thought I might have gone a little overboard, but now I can't find it.
Yeah, it was with the sick or whatever, with the guy
Yeah,
that had the
yeah, oh, here it
diarrhea or
is.
something.
The story of the guy that took his life over the falls.
Yeah.
So we could leave it in there and see what the select board says, maybe.
Love it. Leave it in there.
Yeah, the one thing that's kind of nice about it is it's a document that has a lot of the history of one specific spot in Bristol all in one place, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool to learn about the forges. I hadn't known that.
Yeah,
Neat.
it is cool. Let's see, wildlife wise, we don't know a lot about the park. And so my one thought was that could be in future management objectives. We could work with Middlebury College maybe to do some surveys, or UVM. And same with macroinvertebrates and fish and that kind of thing. So maybe we could just list those as future tasks in order to learn a little bit more about the park, if folks agree.
You know, so I had talked to the people that do this sort of service environmental studies project that they do as like a senior capstone about some of this, and they were interested but didn't really want to get involved. This though is a discrete task. This is like, could your class go one day and look at birds, right? So maybe I can post some of these things to the sort of town college outreach kind of partnering website and see if we get any nibbles. And then I'll keep this in mind too. And I'm in like bio department meetings. I'm doing some work with environmental studies now as well. So maybe I can see if I can find some nibbles of interest here for this park, for maybe a one-off for a lab class or something.
Carolyn, you now know or you probably already knew, but now you officially know the faculty who teach courses that might actually be interested in a survey of the insects or a survey of mammals.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm teaching this semester, not just the 112, the ES like intro as well.
Good.
So I'm meeting all those faculty now.
Great.
Yeah, it's just everyone's so short staffed. So although I'm part-time in bio, then I grabbed that class and then I'll be starting full-time in bio next year. So yeah, so I now know some of the people. There were a couple of new hires and things that are interested in mammals. So yeah. So yeah, we could do some good work out there, and I'll try to make that connection happen. But I don't know, there's on the scale of semesters, right? If like, oh, I happen to have an empty day in my class, in my mammalogy class this one year, right? So it might not be immediate, but in the next couple of years, maybe.
Yeah,
I think that was a professor I talked to, Alexis Mikhailo, said that she thought it could be something that would happen like, we had a 5-year town plan, right? Window, and she said that would be enough time to do that kind of thing.
Cool. Yeah, none of these are really urgent. So go ahead, Alex.
Oh, just to your markup here, that was the first note that I had written writing this after reading this was brook trout, not brown trout.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I knew that you had caught fish there, but I wasn't quite sure what.
Yeah, there are brown trout in Baldwin Creek and I've never caught one up that high, but they're stocked fish. They're not native. The natives in the stream are brookies.
Got it. Cool.
Also on the, I should look this up actually, what we're talking about. The state has a deer yard map that you can overlay. And I don't actually know this, but I'm pretty confident that is a deer yard, which is probably worth noting in the resources segment here.
Cool.
Alex, does a deer yard mean when they sort of sit at night?
No, wintering habitat.
Okay.
And the reason that the state maps this is it's a quickly disappearing habitat. The deer really like the hemlock woods around water during the winter, and places like Memorial are really critical to them, where the snow doesn't stack up so bad and they can get water.
Alex, where can one access that?
Let me just.
You're going to hold up a copy, and that's.
What was that?
You're just gonna hold up a copy and we can take screenshots of your.
I can text you the link, I'm sure, if I can figure out how to do this. But
That'd be cool.
I looked at it a little while ago. I know it's pretty easy to find. Just give me a second here.
Let's see.
Oh, Alex, I have a question. Are trails
Yes.
compatible with deer yards? If we do trail on the other side of the bridge, if it was used year round, would that be problematic?
No, they're a yard behind your house. There's a lot of talk about not disrupting deer terribly during the coldest months of the year when
Right.
they're counting calories, but it's also the time the trail's probably not going to get worn out. So no, I don't think that'd be a problem at all. It's the here. Let's see if I can write it in the chat thing here. Figure out how to do this.
And
Gosh, Helen, I'm thinking about invertebrates now. I could take 140 out there and do invertebrates someday.
Uh-huh.
yeah, that'd be cool.
That thing I just sent in the chat, is that usable as a link? Or okay, yeah, yes.
And our geo data. Got it.
Okay. So Alex sent me some language for this section, the Emerald Ash Borer, which I'll just plop into here, Alex. And maybe you want to mention briefly what any management might be for them.
Yeah. So we haven't had to take down any trees on town parks because of EAB yet, but it's a possibility. The ones that are the most hazardous to people, so any tree that's like right on a trail that's showing signs of infestation would quickly be moved up the list. The 2 ash trees in like the town green or the ash tree closest to Holly Hall, kind of near the war memorial, has been treated to sort of inoculate it against EAB. But there's a cost associated with that. So, if there's a strong push from the Conservation Commission, for example, to try to save an ash tree that's prominent in a park, I think that would go over well. There's, budget for that. It just needs to be recognized and sort of sought. But otherwise, it's basically constantly checking. It's hard to do in the winter. You're mainly looking at canopy deterioration to show or to recognize the signs of the infestation. So as long as the ash trees are leafing out really nicely and aren't showing like telltale signs in the bark, then everything's good to go. That being said, it's pretty highly likely that eventually it'll reach up to Memorial Park. I have not looked back at the map to sort of pinpoint exactly where the ash trees are for this section, but I can. And then I can try to get a little, a small picture that you can put in there, because it'll just be like a little, usually it's like a square that'll represent where all the ash trees that have been identified in the park are. And that
includes Memorial Park.
Yeah, Memorial Park was included in that initial data collection from 2020. So I just need to look that up and then crop an image, and then I can submit that to you, Kristen, and we can just slot it in there.
Cool.
And that should help.
Excellent.
I'm noticing under number 6, boundary issues. Unless I'm mistaken, should it not be in the first sentence, Vermont Route 17?
Yes, thank you. Excellent. Because
And then
17,
you have in the second paragraph, you have, it says Route 116 as well.
excellent. Okay. And I reached out to the Canes, but have not heard back.
And do we own, is it true that we own whatever that decomposing outhouse thing is on the other side of the driveway?
We,
Is that,
so here's the driveway
okay,
Yes.
and,
We do own that decomposing outhouse thing.
okay.
okay.
So that may be an issue we should mention.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Yeah, should we just take it down? What is this? I don't remember seeing the decomposing outhouse thing.
It's like some kind of a shack, and I thought, Porter, you thought it might be an outhouse. So I don't
No,
know.
the story that I was given was that it is a two-holer outhouse. That is exactly what it is. And yeah, I have not gone inside.
Let's
You
move
have
it to
the
the,
man.
let's
But it's
move
like
it to,
beyond disrepair. It's like, you know, it's like collapsing, right?
let's move it to the coffin factory loop. I think it might be useful there.
Okay, I'll put some language in about that. Do we want a picnic table, particularly if we're going to be considering ADA accessibility just beyond the parking lot, between the parking lot and the river, Baldwin Creek? We may want to think about a picnic table that's accessible in that spot.
If that's the case, not to suggest what an Eagle Scout could do, but that's a great project for that type of, badge, or maybe another group. But if we were to try to seek a picnic table.
Mhm.
Porter, those benches, by the way, gorgeous. Oh my gosh. What a great project. I'm so glad that worked out, because remember how they contacted me and I was like, I don't know. I'm so glad you did that and made that happen. And wow, amazing. Those benches are beautiful.
I'm guessing everybody knows what she's talking about, but
Oh yeah,
had-
didn't we send emails about, oh, I don't know.
I don't know. An
Sorry.
Eagle Scout made benches for the Bristol Trail Network, and they're quite lovely. And there's 4 of them at scenic locations.
Fabulous.
There is fishing at the park, as Alex and Zaylee can attest. Do we want to, I don't know if there is a policy regarding hunting on town properties. We do have hunting allowed on publicly accessible lands of the watershed center. And so I would open that for discussion.
I don't know that it really applies without a bridge. You know, like if the bridge is ever there and people could use that to access the land on the other side, if that's unposted, that might be pertinent, but otherwise not really.
Okay. Other comments on that? Okay.
Well, I know that at the watershed, it's posted that there are safety zones, that you can't hunt within so many meters of trails. Given the shape of this park, I'm not sure there's enough room for someone to safely use a firearm if anyone else is on the property. What do other people think?
That's kind of what I meant without the bridge. Like if there's a bridge there, and this could be like an access point that people might go hunt the property behind it, that might be part of a conversation. But the park itself, and especially the road side of the park, is not. There's no feasible way to safely or productively hunt there.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
I think too, just having walked on the other side of the bridge, It does go for half a mile down the Baldwin Creek, but it's a very narrow swath and it's relatively steep. And you've got the road right there on the other side of the creek. So you wouldn't hunt in that direction because there's a road. And then on the other side, you have a private residence. So, you wouldn't really want to be shooting in that direction. And then, it is surrounded by Vermont family forests, wildernessy, whatever. And you really don't want to be putting a foot on that property because you're not welcome. So I think that for a hunter, it's a pretty tiny piece of land without a lot of places to go.
I'm just curious. If it's not
I just
posted,
read-
though, can't you hunt anywhere? What does it matter if we say they're allowed to hunt or not if we're not posting the land? I don't know anything about it. All I know is Alex talked to my class once for an hour about hunting. That's my whole
I
experience.
checked with Alex on that, but my recollection is that people are supposed to ask permission of the property owner. But something else that may or may not apply, because I don't think it's happened yet, is there's a bill, I think, that is proposed, and other states have this. I saw it on Front Porch Forum on a post tonight about some sort of a purple stripe that is used in lieu of, or sort of as a different way to mark a property instead of the yellow signs that require registration through the town and so on, for prohibiting hunting on a property.
Yeah, this is, yeah, technically, if it's not posted, you can hunt it, basically. But I think for all of the pre-mentioned, aforementioned reasons, it's not Memorial Park's not a spot that it would get hunted in the first place, or we should be directing people towards hunting. It's not the spot for it. And I don't think anybody's doing it anyway, or would be particularly interested in hunting there. That doesn't make much sense.
Well, thanks. I'm so glad you're here, Alex.
Yeah. We have.
I'm just here to direct people away from my hunting spots.
Do we want to allow use of fire? We have fire pits at the Lord's Prayer Rock already.
I feel like Rec Department Alex would know the most about this one.
Yeah, I am fully in favor of this little bench and then fire pit up near the parking lot of Memorial Park going away. I think that looks not so great, and kind of more so encourages, not like a full use of the park, if that makes sense. I think if we were looking for a place to put a picnic table, I think a picnic table would do better, or would encourage a better use of the park than a bench and a fire pit. I think the fire pit down in that little, one person kind of camping area does make sense. And it has been used, in the summertime. It does encourage people to recreate, and litter is just a sort of a consequence of that. But I could also get on board with getting rid of both of them. But for me, the main one that has the most sort of litter and broken glass and just, cigarette butts and stuff is the one that's right off of the parking lot.
I like that idea of getting rid of that fire ring right by the parking lot.
This sort of like gets to a question that I've been thinking about reading the management plan, which is like, to what degree we want to think of Memorial as like our wild park, so to speak. It is currently a more natural environment than our other parks, and sort of like I think that's the beauty of it in a lot of ways. Like, it's not really a spot for a bonfire. It's not a spot to roast marshmallows. It's a kind of a peaceful, natural space in my mind. And I think it's kind of be useful to maintain that when we can. And the fire rings to me seem to kind of run counter to that.
I echo that. I mean, I feel like, I obviously would like to see more recreation there, but I feel like, aren't all of the parks supposed to be dawn till dusk? And if you put in a fire ring, then you're sort of like inviting nighttime activity. And so I feel like, I know it's a tricky thing. I would tend to discourage nighttime activity. Yes, I want to see a picnic table and accessibility and trails. But I think that it should be a daytime park.
Is there any mention, Kristen, of sort of the idea of it being a contemplative, people to think about, issues of war and peace and so that sort of thing?
Up in the front, that's how it was originally envisioned, honestly, as a contemplative park where folks would go to memorialize the lost veterans. And it was also developed at the time when the state was requiring or at least encouraging the development of town forests or wild areas. So although forest management may have been envisioned back in the 50s and 60s more so than protecting a wild area. But yeah, in my view, personal view, I see this park as an opportunity for quiet reflection and communing with nature, I guess, as opposed to purely recreating.
I like Alex's, the way he worded that this is our most wild park. And we should be promoting activities that are resonant with that, or I don't know, I'm not saying it the way that he did it, but just acknowledging that it's different than Sycamore Park and Eagle Park. This is a very forested, natural ecosystem, and we'd like to keep it that way. And I mean, not saying it quite that way.
Yeah, I think the idea of what you offer is what exists versus even a picnic table, sort of starts to invite a different type of way to think about the park and utilize the park. And the idea of the fire pit, even if it was located further down, also changes the whole notion of how people might want to think about using the park. And I think Porter's point is a very good one. If it's dawn to dusk, especially most people thinking of that in the summer, it doesn't get dark until, oh gosh, I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock at the summer solstice. So therefore, oh, the fire's not out. We still got a couple more marshmallows. I mean, things can linger.
One of the things that we do in these management plans is designate sub areas of the park for appropriate uses. And so I think the way it's written at the moment is there's a very small active recreation area, and that's really the parking lot and the terrace below that. And I think having that area designated active recreation wouldn't be inconsistent with Porter's vision for ADA accessibility to at least that small part of the park. And then the rest of the park, the remainder of the park could be more passively managed and wild if we think of it in that way.
That sounds
When
great.
you see at the bottom of that page, you have passive open space, so that could get defined further.
With all of these activities appropriate for that.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah, I couldn't see that underneath there.
But all of these, in my view, are quiet, contemplative, respectful of a wild setting.
Do we think that, I mean, I don't know, if we take the fire ring out, would that just encourage people to have less safe fires, but would still continue to have fires there?
Do we
I
have
don't
a
know
sense
much
of
about
how
park
much,
management.
do we have a sense, Alex, of how much use the fire rings get currently? I mean, is that a common occurrence, people to go up there and have fires in those rings?
Yeah, the lower one, the one right near the water, would every week it would change.
Yeah.
At one point someone had stacked a bunch of logs nearby, and so it was pretty easy to track. And that park for me feels like, knowing that it's such a hidden gem, that the people who know about it kind of like use it, and they use it frequently, and they seem to use it for the same thing, which was fire, beer drinking, and smoking cigarettes, and whoever knows what else. But like I would find the same things over and over throughout the course of usually the summer. And so, I think to Carolyn's point, if we don't replace that fire ring area completely with something else, literally right on top of it, I think you might get people who, will just, like they do at Sycamore Park on the beaches, they'll just do a fire wherever they want. So, that's a potential downside, I suppose, of getting rid of them. But I think it can still be managed. The upper space, there's boulders between the parking lot and then sort of where it slopes down. And so you could add more boulders in where that upper fire ring is, and that kind of, doesn't allow for that. The lower one, we might need to be a little bit more creative, and either put something, that allows for a different type of activity to be there. It could just be bench, or, something that looks natural. But yeah, I think if we just kind of like, destroy the fire ring and spread it all out and try to just let it grow back wild, that whoever uses it will still try to use it as a fire ring.
One thing I'll say is, if on that lower terrace, if we do end up getting accessibility down there, full wheelchair ADA accessibility, then that terrace surface will have to be redone to allow for something truly with wheels. So, if this is a 5-year vision and we don't actually do anything or change anything, but leave it just as it is, but then it gets redone and that area, it will be a lot less wild, because it's going to have a managed surface, but that managed surface will discourage, the recurrence of an informal type of fire pit. I also think that the people who get in the habit of using that it's not going to be the same people doing it 10 years from now, right? So they're going to age out of this phase. And so culturally, if we from one year to the next change, the landscaping and make it something else, that it'll just be the next generation of people who would be looking for that spot who won't do it. I've been really surprised on the coffin factory. There is a fire pit there, a little stone ring. And it was one of those things when we made that trail an official trail, because there used to be people who slept down there a lot, sort of squatters and campers every year. And we got rid of all of that stuff. But we left the stones in a ring and said, well, let's see what happens. And we're going on 5 years later, and very rarely do I find even a beer can. Sometimes, once in a while, there'll be a beer can or two and some cigarettes, but very rarely. But that fire pit gets used quite a bit, 3 seasons.
I'm noting the time, 7:15.
Yeah, and we'd want to just run through a few items, I think, and just do the other business too, so. There's a lot else to talk about. This is the major, you'll be done after this major thing, but just we want to quickly go through the other agenda items.
I think I heard consensus at the last meeting that we do not want to permit motorized vehicles on the property. My view, if we have ADA accessibility, certainly we'd need wheelchairs or that sort of thing, but nothing motorized.
Yep.
And then the other main issues are kiosks. If we are envisioning this park as one of the town's wilder parks, maybe we don't want a kiosk there. And we could consider other maybe lower footprint options like paper maps or mobile phone trail maps. Oh, but there's no cell service.
Mhm.
Oh,
I like the idea of having some information available for people who are driving by and think, well, I wonder what this is. Let's go check it out. And it doesn't have to have trail maps. It could just be telling about Bristol parks and that this is one of the parks in Bristol. You know, right now there's really nothing noting what it is except a sign saying Memorial Park.
well, there's that, but there's also this plaque,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
which kind of tells a bit of it.
Mhm. Or we could have a sign that says like Town of Bristol, open dawn to dusk, you
Right.
know, closed in winter, and something else. Pack in, pack out. For more information, go to the town website or something.
Or in addition, the map that just shows the delimitation of the park. What are the boundaries of this
Mhm.
park?
Yeah, get something printed up like Porter got for the Bristol Trail Network that are on those trees. Those things are so slick. I just love those signs.
Well, whatever it is, it probably makes sense to have that be sort of unified. So all park entrances had virtually the same standard, and whatever the size of that placard or probably not. I mean, maybe it's not exactly a kiosk. It's more of a sign with a little bit of an awning for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds like a good idea, a vision for, when you've completed the management plans for all of them, is to work up something aesthetic that will have uniformity among all the parks and provide similar blocks of information.
Mhm.
I was going to say the Eagle Park sort of kiosk, I guess, is I think a good model to follow. It's not terribly big, and Memorial could be smaller, but I think, Jono, that's what you're describing, where it's just like a board that's under, or glass, or a sliding thing or whatnot. But one thing that I think would be helpful as well for that is to have the ability to update something when it's different. Like, ideally in the future, this park will be open, all the time. But right now, it's closed on our websites and whatnot. But there's no real great way to say like, hey, this is going to be closed for construction, or this is going to be, so it allows us an easy way to update the park itself without creating new signage and stuff like that. So
I have two questions. This is why you don't ever want major meetings, because I make everything take longer. But one is, I know it's not open in winter now and the town doesn't plow the thing, but if there's a safe bridge and there's trails on the other side, I would hope it would be open in the winter time. So I hope that that's not an assumption that forever it would be closed in the winter. I hope that if there are, ways to enjoy the park safely year round, that it would be open year round. And then the other thing I just want to say is, echoing sort of Helen's comment about that park, it's such a misunderstood facility and there's a lot of confusion. So we have the sign that's there now that frankly looks a little bit like a cross, which is kind of confusing for a lot of people. And it doesn't indicate that this is a town park. And then you have that thing across the street, which a lot of people think has something to do with Memorial Park because it looks like some kind of memorial, which also has religious emblems on it. And of course, it's just a private memorial to a person whose family wanted to memorialize him. That's super confusing. And I don't know if there's any way that signage ultimately ever can resolve that and be like, and by the way, the thing across the street is a private memorial, not related to this. But anyway, I get that a lot from people like, Memorial Park, is that what those flags are? I'm like, well, no. So anyway.
I think that we had talked about this a while ago, and we got very excited about signs and bringing the scouts in. And there was someone at the high school that was actually wanted to help build a sign or something. And I think we decided we didn't want to put signs up until it was safer. And then we could start doing more advertising with big signs and things.
I definitely don't think it needs to happen now. And I do think that you're going to want to have consistent signs at all the parks. So I would put that as a bigger project later, but I would just throw that out there that it's a very little understood and little used park.
We've got to get that, was it the VOREC grant someday? Because that would be all about signs. God, I want it so bad.
Cool, thank you.
Is that everything? Great.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, anything else? Anything else about Memorial Park? Management plan? Anything want to add anything before we move on and start just blowing through the rest of the agenda in 10 minutes?
Oh,
Okay.
I think we talked about this, touched on this a little while ago, but I wonder if actually under current actions, going up and pulling those spikes out where the old treads for the stairs have rotted away. That seems kind of urgent. It would be an awfully great place for somebody to get really hurt before any kind of, it'll be a while before any construction happens there if it does. So in the meantime, it seems like we ought to, some point in the spring, really make a point of pulling those up. It's just all the like old spikes where they had just nailed down the old stair treads are totally exposed. And if you slipped and landed on one, you're very upset.
Because it's like, it's rebar. Yeah.
It's
You're
nasty.
Right on.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to have a few different work days, right? We have a normal kind of green up day as always. There's which sometimes we do the 1 or 2 people man the green up day booth. If we have a booth this year, I don't know yet. And then we have the rest of the crew sort of works at Eagle and works on the, maybe doing mulch and working on the garden. It sounds like we also have been talking about having a Sycamore Park day. And then, maybe if we should do something at Memorial as well, or if that should be something a smaller group does, if that's not enough work for a whole big crew of people. But it sounds like there's a lot of work to be done come spring on a lot of these projects. I'd love to have a Memorial like bio blitz that we could just front porch forum, campus, Mount Abe, and just say like, we're going to do it. We're going to get out there. We're going to count bugs and look at and just see if we can it'd be so fun, Gotta do it during the very edge of the school year so we can get all the professors and teachers involved and get some classes out there. It'd be really fun. But they're not the ones that would want to be pulling rebar. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot. We should make sure as we get into spring, maybe I'll put that on the agenda for February so we can start talking about planning these. Should we put on the agenda for March? What do you think?
I would say March.
March, okay. Okay, and then also for the Feb agenda, I should get Green Up Day on there. Okay, March agenda, we'll talk about these work days. Great, okay. So if you don't mind then, I just wanna move back to the beginning of the meeting now, and we'll just work our way through the agenda in 7 minutes, okay? Great. So, additional items on the agenda, I hope not at this point. Anyone? Bye, Porter, thank you so much.
Bye, Porter.
Appreciate having
Bye,
you.
Porter.
Okay. Review and approve of minutes from December 9th. Does anyone want to
Motion to
approve?
approve?
Is there a second?
A second?
Second, all those in favor?
All right.
Hi, the minutes are approved. Correspondence. We did have all of that mail last time, and I wish we were in person. We got a very heartfelt thank you note from someone about the bingo that we did and the scavenger hunt. We got a book of like Vermont stories about Vermont and life and what it's like in different seasons and months of the year. It's really cool. An anonymous donor gave us a copy of it, it says. So anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. If anyone wants to read that book, it's the Vermont, well, you can't really see it. Vermont Almanac, Stories from and for the Land, Volume 1. It's just written by people. Got
That's
lots
Jen
of really good
Albers?
pictures. So if you want me to put it in your mailbox, I can pass it around if anyone wants it. Let me know. And then, sorry, what was that, Jenno?
Oh, I thought it was Jen Albers, but that's a different book.
This is by a lot of people. Looks like Virginia Barlow was in charge of the project, and they enclosed a free copy for every conservation commission on behalf of an anonymous donor. So
Wonderful.
you have it. So if you want to read that, let me know. I can drop it off for you. Okay, correspondence. Oh, you have it.
No, this is volume 2. So
Oh,
this is a whole bunch of, my understanding is Northern Woodlands emphasis changed. And so some people wanted to retain some of the features of Northern Woodlands, so they decided to put this out instead. That might not be right, but this is volume 2. At
Okay.
some point, I'd love to see volume 1, but I have to read this one first.
well, I just live down the road from you, so let me know, and I'll I can
Okay.
snoop on your house then. I can see what it looks like. Okay, great. So Bristol, we did that already. Conservation Commission membership. Great. Nancy Morrison is an official member. It's done. You're in. We did not have the
Jason Hurd.
thank you, Jason. I was gonna say the veteran, and I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, Jason Hurd. He came last time to our meeting. He was interested in joining. He went to talk to the select board. And before he even got to that point, Valerie wanted to know what some of his history was, and she thought he'd be better suited for the planning commission and was concerned that we have no current vacancies. But there was some back and forth that I think some messages were missed over the phone. And so it's all settled now. I was able to email Melanie. She resigned because although she really wants to be on the Conservation Commission, it's just incredibly hard for her with COVID and the strains that we're all dealing with, of course. So she was very disappointed to have to officially resign. So we do have a vacancy now if another person comes up and wants a spot. So he won't be in the same situation, but it sounds like he's going to be a really good fit for planning. I think it'll be good for the town to have him over there, and also someone who knows us and is sympathetic to conservation issues. So I think it'll work out well for Bristol in the end, but it was unfortunate. We had a little bit of a kind of bureaucracy issue there. So, but she has resigned officially. We have one vacancy now on the book. So if you know anyone that's interested, we do have that spot. Or if we have someone surprise us, like Jason or Nancy, that we have a spot now, which is going to be great to help grow in those directions for people that have the time to participate. Great. Parks updates, illegal dumping sites. Anything on an update? I doubt it. Anyone got one? No update. Okay. Website, I've updated it to have the commissioners, someone update. I didn't update it. Someone updated that. And then I got Ian to update the Explore Bristol PDF that Alex made. That's linked now. When we have this management plan completed, I'd like to link that as well, or at least put that on the parks pages. Edith Stock Trust, any updates on anything? I have an update on Apple's ? Any updates?
I got a hold of a family member of the Clark's tree service, and they said he would call me back. He hasn't yet, but spring is coming, so I'll start trying to call a little more frequently so we can, get it all sorted before pruning time.
I appreciate your determination. Thank you. We talked about the management plan, the town plan. I don't think we have any other updates to say. We're just working on the management plan for that. Okay. Tree planting committee, any updates there? That was the new name I was told to give the Emerald Ash Borer committee, which we're now going to move in a new direction with that.
Right.
Anything
Yeah.
there?
No, nothing new really. Getting ready. It's been busy for me, but getting ready to send out an email. I got a response from one of the committee members who's interested in sort of making it a little bit broader. So hopefully I'll hear back from him, and then we can move forward and start to make a plan to spread the word and gather more people.
Cool. Floodplain zoning updates. Any discussion with the planning commission or anything on that?
We can table that till next.
I'm sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry, we could table it.
Okay. And then ARPA, did I spell that right? Committee, anything with that? I think the deadline to apply for that committee isn't until this week or next week, right? So unless Helen has an update, that's going to be something we'll probably talk about next month or the month after. Yes, Helen? Okay. Cool. No events because of COVID and winter simultaneously. We don't have a lot of events in winter. And the next meeting is February 10th, and it is 7:30. Anything else anyone wanted to add before we adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, all
I'll
those.
second.
Oh wait, is there a second? He seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Carolyn. Very
Yes,
punctual.
look at
Hey,
job.
guys.
Good job.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.